If you're looking to buy a new construction home, you're gonna wanna watch this entire video. What's up everyone, my name's Thomas with Real Broker here in St. Augustine, Florida, and for today's video, we're gonna go over the pros and cons of each individual builder with actual honest responses from the people that have bought homes with these builders here in St. Johns County. I went ahead and posted a question on one of our local community groups and asked, hey, have you bought a home within this past year? How was your experience? Can you tell me a little bit more about it? And in this video, we're gonna cover all the responses that I got from that post. So let's get started. All right guys, so I'm gonna look off my phone here and I'm gonna read you the exact question that I asked everyone. The question goes, have you bought a new construction home in the past year? What are the pros and cons of your experience? Please list the builder along with your comments. Side note, you know how Facebook can get, right? Most people don't want to talk about all the good things. Everyone wants to talk about all the negative things. And that's pretty much any Facebook group anywhere. Seems to be a lot of negative people out there, a lot of sad people. So for this video, I would say take some things with a grain of salt and also, just take notice to what they're saying here. So up first, Marie says that she's happy with her DR Horton home. And I said, no, thanks Marie, how was the process? She went ahead and said, I have had all positive experience, no complaints at all. Now, DR Horton's one of the biggest builders. I think it is the #1 builder in the entire nation. They build homes everywhere. They're known as a production builder. So they're building homes in every community across the state and across the entire United States. So they've done this once or twice. Every experience that I've had with DR Horton in terms of the real estate agent side, they've been really good at communicating with both myself and also the buyer throughout the entire process. A lot of the buyers that I've helped buy DR Horton homes are satisfied with their end product, but Marie has said it that she's had no complaints whatsoever. And I'm just gonna go in order of the comments that I got. There's no specific worst builder, best builder. I'm just gonna go directly in the order and I'll of course post the video so you guys can see this as well. So Peggy Hatton said, I had a house built 9 years ago with Taylor Morrison, and that is a higher end builder. And it was a nightmare and I will never repeat again. Lies, lies, lies. They lied to us about the plans for the property next to ours, a nightmare. Can't wait for my husband to retire so we can move. All the houses in my hood have had problems. If you build, plan to visit the property every single day and get an inspector. My next home will not be in an HOA and will be an existing home with a thorough inspection. And that is something to note as well, guys. Pretty much any new build you go with, you want to have a third party checking what they're doing, right? And I'm not saying that all these builders are trying to slide by and get things by you, but like I said, a builder like DR Horton, they're building homes, thousands, hundreds of thousands of homes across the entire country. There are things that get missed. So having someone that represents your best interest, getting a third-party inspection is in your best interest. And does it cost a little bit of money? Yes, it does, but it's definitely worth it because it'll save you thousands in the long run because they're gonna take care of any of the problems that the inspector typically finds. So I asked her, I said, I'm sorry to hear that. What problems did you experience? And she said, the problem was the developer lied about the property lines, the stucco, the plumbing, improperly installed appliances and exhausted, wavy walls, sprinklers installed on the neighbor's property that I was paying for, etc. I will never do it again. My dream house was a nightmare. And in that being said, this is 9 years ago, so it's hard to say how well Taylor Morrison is doing today. I mean, they are building homes within our community. I know people that are satisfied with the build of their homes, and they are a higher end builder. So the one thing with stucco is that stucco in Florida here, it used to be the main thing everyone used. You see tons of houses with stucco, but not so much anymore because the maintenance on stucco, especially with the heat and the humidity here in Florida, it keeps cracking, water gets in, then you have water problems, and then you have mold. All those problems are related to stucco. So you're seeing a lot of builders move towards the hardy board siding, which is a concrete cementitious siding. So it's a mixture, but it looks just like wood. All right, on to the next one. They didn't give me any feedback on this, and I tried to hit everyone with a question after I did this, but I missed this one, I guess. If you want a quality home, contact Glenn Layton Homes in Jacksonville. So if you've had any experiences with Glenn Layton, go ahead and fire them off in the comments below. Island Homes was also another suggestion that people put up there. And Harson Shope says, stay away from KB Homes and DR Horton. Horrible built houses that start falling apart faster than the warranty can expire. Now, the warranty has, most builders now have a 10-year structural warranty on all of their products. You tend to get a 1-year material defect warranty. And then there's typically, warranties on all the appliances, the AC, all that good stuff. So this person is speaking, and of course I press everyone. I want to know where they're coming from. Have they actually bought a house with these people? He's talking about 2 companies here, right? So if you're going to talk shit on 2 companies, you need to bring some ammunition. So this guy says that he works on them after they start having problems. Problems start soon after the build, but go unnoticed until major damage is discovered. And this goes back to, guys, get a third-party inspector to look over any new construction build. And if you work with our team, of course, we have inspectors that we can recommend. And if you don't, if you need an inspector, you can reach out to me as well. I'll give you my inspectors. They're great guys. And Eileen Marie says, if you do build, always hire your own home inspector and do every inspection you can along the way with them. Now, typically, if you are buying a home that is a quick move-in home, you're not going to be able to do every inspection. But if you're building from the ground up, you're buying a lot, picking a floor plan, and going to the completion of that home, then you want to get inspection every step of the way. So once the foundation gets poured, you want to have a foundation inspection. Once the framing and the mechanicals, the plumbing, the AC, all that stuff goes in, you want to have an inspection before the drywall goes on the wall. And that's because once the drywall goes up, they're not going to rip it off to see what's happening behind the wall. And then once you get to the end, typically a week before closing, you'll do your final inspection where an inspector comes by and checks everything. And a lot of times on new construction, they're not going to be finding too much because everything's brand new and they're not trying to give you a shitty product, right? So it's going to look pretty tidy, but they will find things. On my home here, the home I'm sitting in right now, they did find some electrical issues. And I bought a new construction home. It's not in an HOA. It's from a smaller local builder, but we'll get to him at the very end of this. Next one, guys, we got Sean Niskern. Lennar was great. That's all he said, right? And I said, what was great about the experience, the process, the build quality? Can you tell me a little bit more? Build quality was good. The process was actually horrible. And the communication was horrible. And that's one thing to really note is when you are building a home, especially if you're relocating from another area, you want to have good communication. And that's also one of the benefits of working with a realtor and my team is that we're going to stay on top of the communication for the things that you guys need to know. But that is the tough part of doing this thing is that if you're not going to constantly stop by and stay on top of them, a lot of the builders, not just saying Lennar in general, they're not going to be as communicative as you would like, right? So in my experience with Lennar, we just closed a townhome with actually someone from YouTube, and they were fantastic. We didn't have any problems. The salesperson that helped us out walked us through the entire way. So we haven't had any problems with them as of yet. So I followed up and said, are you satisfied with the outcome despite the process? Obviously, he initially said that Lennar was great, so I'm assuming that he was satisfied. But Melissa came and chimed in on the same comment thread, saying we're really pleased so far with our Lennar home build itself and Travis, our builder. But the Lennar agent that sold us our home was absolutely terrible. There are items in our signed contract that were stated as included in our build, but were not present in our home at walkthrough. And if it is on the contract, then they will typically take care of it. Maybe it won't, you don't want this to happen at closing, right? You want to make sure that all these items are ironed out before you get to the closing table. But if you don't, right, you can still get these items taken care of. Now, is it going to take Lennar a little bit longer to get it, or whichever builder? It doesn't necessarily have to be Lennar. Any builder to take care of these items because they don't have the deadline of the closing, 100%, right? It's going to be a little bit more of a pain in the ass to get it done because they don't have typically they're pushing so they get the home sold. But once it's sold, the obligation isn't necessarily there. So that can be a pain. I totally understand that. So she actually sent me the spec sheet that she had, and I believe she ended up closing. So let's go on to the next one. Bob Master chimes in and he said, all these new homes seem to be built with the cheapest materials. Would hate to see a good storm roll through here. And there's always people that say hey, homes were built better years ago. And I imagine that the materials might have been better years ago. It doesn't seem like anything works like the same way it does years ago. But the way that they build homes today is definitely a different standard of what they did years ago, right? And there's a lot more quality checks on these homes than there were years ago. They didn't have those things because what happens is there has to be a lawsuit, there has to be a problem for these quality checks to go in, right? And that's where we are today. So I always find these comments questionable. But Debbie Reynolds chimes in on this, says all the affordable homes are built with cheap materials these days, even the not so affordable ones. Thanks, Joe. I don't know who Joe is. Just Bob and Joe Biden. Oh my God, stupid. I don't know what Joe Biden has to do with building homes here, but that's hilarious. Whether you like him or not, that's hilarious that you commented there. Okay, so Bob Master says, even with the 600 plus are still built with the same material, just more square footage, but I agree. Fuck Joe Biden. Okay, I don't see what he has to do with building materials. But either way, I always ask, like, hey, if you're gonna talk some shit like this, you know, at least back it up with something. I said, can you elaborate on what cheap materials are? Crickets, nothing. Of course, that's how it works, right? So Mason Marshall has responded to Bob and said, I've seen million-plus home built with issues left and right. It's all the same sub-crews and materials. And that's true, right? We talked about these production builders, guys. These guys build homes at a massive scale. They're subbing out things, and the subs are subbing out things, so things do get missed, which is, once again, if you're building a new construction home, don't be cheap on the inspection. Get the inspection done, especially if you're going through the whole process. It'll save you thousands in the long run. And I responded to Mason. I said, thanks for answering. Can you explain some of the common issues that you've seen with new construction? He said, which trade would you like to start with? Roofing issues, siding and flashing windows improperly, shower benches installed to hold water as opposed to draining towards the drain, damaged cabinets installed and chipped stone tops trying to be pushed through to customers. If you'd like some prime examples, come to my neighborhood or any others being built from 400 all the way to 1.3 million, all the same issues. Just get a good home inspector and don't close until all the issues have been resolved, or it'll take years to fix. And that's what I just covered here, guys. You want to make sure that you get these things ironed out before closing. It's imperative when you're doing this with a new construction home. But that is actually great advice. Not saying that all those things are wrong with every single builder, but what he did outline there, there's going to be problems. You know, between 400 and $1 million homes, there's going to be problems. Actually, one of the worst inspections that I had was on a $1 million+ home in Jacksonville. I'm not going to say the builder, but things that I was walking through and pointing out, you know, DR Horton would have taken care of. This builder was, you know, snubbing his nose at me, essentially. Actually, in this situation, the builder, the super, and also the owner of the company were there for our blue tape walkthrough. And the owner of the company walked out because I was like picking out things left and right, and he was getting very, very upset. It even got to a point where like me and my buyer were like, we looked at each other like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Like, he really had a problem. Either way, Wendy Butler chimes in and says, all of them are literally pieces of junk people pay $500,000 for. I don't know what Wendy's qualifications are, but take it with a grain of salt. For the quality, should be a minimum of $150K, no different than a mobile home. From Bob Masters. It's obviously way different. So I responded to Bob and I said, hey Bob, thanks for answering. Did you buy a home? With what builder? Can you elaborate on what you mean by the cheapest materials? And he said, no, I did not buy a home and would not buy a home in any of these neighborhoods. I'm in the construction field and I work in homes throughout St. Johns County daily in many different subdivisions by many different builders. And they are all the same with the cheapest materials. I see problem after problem. If you want a good home built, you need to find a local builder and build a custom home, preferably out of block and with quality materials, which will have to pay a higher price. So block is actually not that more expensive than wood. But in our area, because of the wind speed, we're actually not required to build with block, which in South Florida, everyone builds with block because of the average wind speed during hurricanes. Here in North Florida, we don't get with that heavy of hurricanes, at least not yet. So we don't have that requirement where we need to build with block. But it is an option, right? And you can still make a block home look very, very beautiful. And there are builders around this area that do build block construction and brick construction. And I said, Bob, what makes the building materials cheap? Or are you saying how they put it together is cheap? And he said, both. They use cheaper quality than they used to, say, maybe 15 or 20 years ago. The quality materials are available. They choose to use cheaper to have higher profit margin, and you're paying top dollar. They will not last. You know, it's hard for me to say, like, really agree with this. I imagine that they're trying to make as much money as possible, right? But my grandma's had a double wide trailer sitting on the intercoastal, literally intercoastal front, direct water front, since 1998. My great grandparents had a property on there for 20 years that got removed in 1998 because my grandparents wanted something new. And it's not gone anywhere. So he might be being a little extreme. Maybe he's not. Okay, so let's go here. Julie Lynn asked Bob a question and he said, Bob, I was told that if St. Johns County approves the inspection, but my private inspector does not approve something for whatever reason, my builder will go with St. Johns County inspector and not change anything anyway. So why get a private inspector? Just wondering. Bob didn't come back to answer, so I answered for her. I said, the builder wants you to be satisfied with what you're buying. Getting a third-party inspector who documents any issues will help you in how you proceed with the builder. Regardless, guys, you're gonna get a third-party inspector that, they know what they're talking about. Maybe you're not versed in construction like Bob is here, right? You get a third-party inspector that has a good idea of what they're talking about, and that's gonna help you. It's gonna give you a little ammo when you're battling with these builders on things that need to be taken care of. All right. Now, let's go on to a positive comment. We talked shit for a couple minutes here, but we'll go with Tommy Hammond here. Actually, despite all the negativity, most builders do a good job. Use good materials, but all of them are only as good as the subcontractors that they use. Don't let anyone tell you differently. I went through the process of building for 2 of my sons since 2020 with Madame Homes, who was great, responsive, good quality, and impressive on their final inspection, walkthrough, and follow-up. Minor issues like any home, but they did my sons right. They didn't object to this old man periodically showing up and checking things. As a retired builder/developer and civil engineer, my focus is on the pad prep, foundation, structure, and roof. I've also had great experiences with Lennar, Horton, Riverside, Cottage, Arthur Rutenberg, Providence Homes, and Dream Finders for my clients. I've also had a few hiccups. Whatever you do, build or buy a new build, don't ever go it alone. I was a home builder for 34 years, and builders are going to look out for builders. It doesn't mean they are all bad, far from it. But you need someone with hands-on experience to advocate for you. And just because I want to know, that sounded like a realtor answer. I said, thank you for your answer. Are you a realtor? And he is. But I'm a semi-retired builder and developer and civil engineer, built apartments, homes, condos, hotels, etc. for 35 years, involved in several projects now. And thank you so much, Tommy. I appreciate your perspective. Definitely add some levity, because once again, Facebook is not a place where people go to shout your praises. They go there to talk trash on you, right? So either way, head on to the next one, guys. Now we're going to talk about Mastercraft for a second. Gary Hearn said, we went ahead with Mastercraft and had no issues with our home. And if you do remember, if you look on my channel in the interview section, I do have an interview with Chris Shee, who is the owner of Mastercraft. Him and his brother own the company, and he's really a great person. Their homes are beautiful here in St. Johns County. He only builds here in St. Johns County. He won Builder of the Year last year for 2022. So with what I'm going to agree with what he's saying here. And I said, hey, I love Mastercraft. How was the process? Are you satisfied with the build and the quality? And he said, I only had 2 issues and they were repaired at no cost, no damages to the home after a few hurricanes. And I said, was that pre or post closing? Because that's a big deal, right? We just talked about how builders don't want to take care of things after closing. And this was after his closing. So he had a couple issues. He called up Mastercraft and he said, hey, I have these problems. They came out and fixed it. And that's something when I had a conversation with Chris Shee in that interview, which is a great interview, you should check it out. He was like, listen, if there's something wrong with their home, I want people to be satisfied. I'll make sure it gets fixed. So he's standing behind his product and straight up says it in that video. So either way, on to the next one, guys. Denny Dean says, new homes in our county are being built so fast by the big box builders. Don't buy without a home inspection. And of course, he's a home inspector. Of course, he wants to throw in his two cents there, but you should get a home inspector. Don't necessarily need to use Denny Dean. I don't know him. So either way, of course, we got a realtor on here who wants to solicit my business, and I actually know this guy personally, so I thought it was kind of funny. He said like, hey, I'm a realtor, I can help you. Whatever. Okay, next one, Kerry Moncrief Jones. We'll be closing on a new build by LGI in Green Cove Springs on October 12th. Don't have any complaints. Everyone in the office has been very helpful. Houses are bigger and less expensive there. And Green Cove Springs is just over the St. Johns River. Still very close to everything that Jacksonville, St. Augustine has to offer. You're going to be within a 45-minute drive of pretty much all the amenities that both of those cities have to offer. But you're going to get a lot more of affordable homes over there than you are over here. Also, the lot sizes are going to tend to be a little bit bigger because here in St. Johns County, they're making them smaller and smaller. I was just at an area that the lot sizes were 38 feet wide. So I asked her, the same standard questions. How was the process? Satisfied with the build? Any negatives you can think of? So far, we're very happy with them. We're looking here in St. Augustine, but we decided to go to Green Cove Spring because we were able to get a bigger house for less money. Also, the subdivision has the best amenities and the HOA is only $10 a month. Internet, and look at all that you get in the way of amenities. We're very happy. And I also don't know if $10 a month was what she meant. Might have been $100 a month. I don't know. But someone came back and said, what in the world do you get for $10 a month? Because I was wondering the same thing. And she said that they got a pool, a pickleball court, basketball court, children's playground, tennis courts, gym, clubhouse. Rolling Hills is a big subdivision and there's a lot of houses. LGI is a part of the subdivision. The amenities are very nice. Now, one thing to note on that is that with these homes that have a lower HOA, when the amenities are fully built out, typically the HOA will increase. Also, with everything, it's probably going to increase in the future. It's $10 now, probably won't be in the future. My HOA for my townhome went up, and I think it went up like $20, wasn't very much. But they're also talking about raising it again this year. So 2 times within the 4 years that we've been living, well, we don't live there anymore, 4 years that we've owned it, they've raised the HOA. So just like anything, just like inflation, it's probably gonna go up. Lisa says, stay away from stucco. And someone corrects her and says many are not allowed to build with stucco anymore because of all the issues. So that's about right. She recommends Thad Lee. He's a general contractor. He builds homes. Great guy and honest. He's meticulous. He does things the right way. I know because I paint all of his homes. Might be a little bit of bias there. I don't know Thad Lee, but check him out. Doug Carrera says build with a local company. He highly recommends Generation Homes. Cora will take great care of you. Moved in our new home last November. And Kim came along and she seconded it. She said, I agree with Core Homes at Generation Homes a few years ago. We built with Core Homes at Generation Homes a few years ago. Had an amazing experience, excellent quality, and terrific follow through on all the commitments. I asked them the same thing. What was the process? What year did you build? So luckily, Kim, who responded, built in 2018. It took 9 months from the actual build after design, permitting, all that good stuff. Always informed along the way, great quality, and as I said, great follow through. So she gave Generation Homes a thumbs up. I asked Doug the same thing. Doug said we built a custom home on our own lot, so they do that as well. Both our architect and Cora helped us maximize the potential for the lot. At the time we were building, we had to be patient with some of the materials and trades, but we were always informed. We did use our own designer, so some of the finishes and materials were more than budgeted, but we knew what we were choosing. We were very satisfied with the build quality and would use Generation Homes again. So Generation Homes so far has gotten the big thumbs up. I haven't seen any negatives on it, just like we've seen with all the other builders. Now, once again, they're a local builder. They're not a massive company like DR Horton or Lennar with tons of subcontractors. These guys probably have their own crew. They probably run them through there, and they're probably they're more on top of it. They're managing them a little bit better. So let's see. Elliott Nolan, if you're looking for a fabricated home, could be your way. Deer Valley and Jacobson Homes for prefabricated, beautiful homes, built and delivered, saves us a lot of money. And he said, and I asked him the following questions: did you buy from them? How was the process? Are you satisfied with the build quality? He said yes and yes. Both companies build to all Florida construction standards and are fully customizable. So that's one thing to note. I talked about my grandma having a double wide trailer on the intercoastal. When you go inside the double wide trailer, you don't even notice that it's a double wide trailer. It's got vaulted ceilings. It's really open, big glass window in the back. It's a beautiful home, especially when it's on the intercoastal. And like I said, it hasn't blown anywhere. You know, the roof has stayed on this entire time. We've been hit with tons of hurricanes over the past 20 years, a little bit more than 20 years, since 1998. And the home is still there, no problems at all. So if you're looking for a cheaper alternative to building new construction, maybe you want to go with a prefabricated home, buy your lot, buy the prefabricated home, have them plop it on your lot. Could be a good way to go. All right, someone pitched their own property on here, of course. If you're looking for a home in St. Johns County with a 3.2 double wide on there in 2022, it's on a 1.25 acre lot. Reach out to Ethan Cleaton, find him on Facebook, I guess. AdCap Construction pitched themselves. You know, I'm not going to go through with that. Michelle Renee said, Cortez Point Builders, do not buy from them. Asked her for some follow-up. Didn't give me any follow-up. We'll skip that one. Wendy Butler said, junk. All the big box builders are junk. If you haven't found that out, you will. And I said, can you explain what you mean by junk? What makes you say that? And I never got a response. So take it with a grain of salt, guys. And here, we're getting to the last one here. Lindsey Cooper says, mine was about 2.5 years ago. J. Lee Construction, LLC, building and roofing contractor. Amazing, locally owned, affordable, and responsive. And I said, thanks for answering. How was the process? Are you satisfied with the build quality? Any negatives you can think of? And she said, well, this is my first home, but I felt like the process was great. I was able to ask questions at any time and stop by at any time. I'm very happy with the quality. No negatives other than the stuff I didn't choose to have done that now I regret, but that's not on the builder. And to add another thumbs up to J. Lee Construction, both him and his brother build houses here in the area. There's TBL Construction, there's J. Lee Construction. I'm familiar with both of them. Both of them are great guys. The home that you see behind you is a J. Lee Construction home. I bought in St Augustine over here. We paid $300,000 for this house, and we are super satisfied with it so far. We've only been in it about 4 months, but you can tell that the quality of the build here, when I look at this house, I told you about that $1 million house. When I look at the quality of the build of this house versus the $1 million house, I mean, some of the standards and features that I have here are just aligned with the $1 million house in terms of like how it was done. One of the major things that we were looking at is the window stool. Now, a lot of people think a window sill is actually the exterior of the home. The window stool is the interior of the home. A lot of people don't know that. Everyone calls it the window sill. Most builders will call it the window sill, but go ahead and Google it. It's a window stool. The window stool in that $1 million home had pock marks on it, had dripping paint on it. You come into this house, everything's clean. There's no splintering of the wood. Everything is done correctly. And I love it. I'm a big fan of this build, big fan of this layout. I got vaulted ceilings in my living room. Makes it feel, and our home's only a 1,200 square foot home. It's not huge, it's 3 bedroom, 2 bath, but the layout's fantastic. It makes it feel like it's a 1,500 square foot home, especially with those vaulted ceilings in the living room. Our home is very cozy. So I'll give a thumbs up for J. Lee Construction because my personal experience with them has been great. Guys, and that is it. I hope you gained a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of insight into what builder you might want to build a home with here in St. Johns County. If you are looking to build a home here in St. Johns County, make sure you reach out to me and my team. We'd love to be able to help. We've done this a number of times. It's not our first rodeo. It's not our first beer. So if you're looking for some experience and some hand holding along the way, reach out to us directly. Whether that's a call, text, or email, we're here for you. Until next time, guys.